everyone. Welcome back to
Unknown,
Unsolved
unseen.
Triple U.
Welcome, guys, to episode 3. Nice to have you guys back.
Yeah, week 3. Cannot believe that we've made it this far.
Yeah, it's not been a journey yet, but it's been the beginning of one. Hoping to keep going on here.
Yeah, hopefully a long journey ahead.
Yeah. So, before we get into things today, I want to give you guys an update about the Outback Witch Day. Sage and I did go to it yesterday. We are recording on the 6th, so the Outback Witch Day was yesterday, and I gotta say, pretty fun.
Yeah, it was a ton of fun, and we also went to the Oddities Festival that was kind of like up the street
Yeah, there's
in the local cemetery.
oddities market at the cemetery. So we did check out both. Got the Wombo combo. Love to see all the cryptid themed stuff yesterday at the Outback Witch. Only thing I'm a bit disappointed is that they use AI for their posters now rather than actually getting talented artists to draw the Outback Witch.
Yeah, that seems to unfortunately be the case for a lot of different art these days.
Yeah, I always like to support the artist like how we do for our podcast and our logo. Now, one thing we actually got that's quite interesting at the Outback Witch Day was Outback Witch hard cider.
Oh yeah, and what were the other cryptids?
It was the serpent of the Susquehanna River. Just the other one's called Cryptid Cherry with a Wendigo on it, which isn't really a cryptid, but that's a discussion for later. And then one about our friend got one for the Three Sisters, which are three witches from the Columbia area. That's a local legend there. So all of their hard ciders this place had were themed after cryptids and other paranormal legends of the area.
Yeah, so if you live in Columbia, Pennsylvania, or really anywhere close to it, the group that made these hard ciders is at the local market,
Every Saturday.
and then on Tuesdays they also have a booth.
Yeah, I believe that's somewhere else. I forget where.
But
But
definitely go check them out. They were delicious. Frank and I are not really honestly big alcohol drinkers, but
when it's cider,
we especially don't like beer. So this was like a super neat find, and the bottles are just so cute.
yeah, you'll see them on our Instagram.
Yeah, we're definitely gonna post them, and you can go check them out.
So, with that being said, you guys are ready. Let's get into episode 3,
I'm ready.
the Lake Champlain Monster.
Champy.
So, Sage, do you know anything about Champ?
Nope, the only thing I know is that he is a lake monster and that he sometimes is referred to as Champy, which I think is absolutely adorable. But that's honestly pretty much it.
Alright, so then let's get into this. So, first, I'm going to give you some history and background on Lake. This is essential to understand like what Lake Champlain is.
Okay.
So, Lake Champlain is located between the states of New York and Vermont, with some of the northern part of the lake going into the Canadian province of Quebec. So, Lake Champlain is 435 square miles, making it the largest lake in the Adirondacks. The depth of the lake averages at 64 feet, but its deepest point is 400 feet. Now, the lake is 12 miles wide at its largest width and 107 miles long. So that's fairly large. And there's 587 miles of shoreline.
Wow.
The lake also has over 70 islands in it as well. It's the 13th largest lake in the U.S. And the lake is connected to the St. Lawrence Seaway through the, forgive me if I butcher this, Richelieu River. And in 1823, it was connected to the Hudson River system by the Champlain Canal. So this lake, we can figure out through geology and other stuff how it was formed. So the lake was formed by glaciers receding around 23,000 years ago, and at that time it created the Champlain Sea. So this was an inlet of the Atlantic Ocean, and we know it was populated with plenty of life, including whales, walruses, and plenty of other fish from the fossil evidence. So in this area, it used to be a sea.
That
And
is so neat.
yeah, and we'll get it. We'll revisit that later for some other ideas about Champ. So around 10,000 years ago, the sea began to shrink due to continent rebounding, eventually becoming lakes, such as Lake Champlain. And this is what happens after glaciers recede. The ground begins to rebound and expand because it was compressed under the glacier. So after that, as it became a lake, this area was the border between the territory between two indigenous nations, the Mohawks and the Abenaki. And the first European settler to encounter the lake was Samuel de Champlain, a French explorer and cartographer in 1609.
So I have a question.
Yeah.
Is it Champlain or Champlain?
I think I'm going to just refer to it as Champlain.
Okay, I was just curious because we, you know how we spell the word like champagne. So like, I wasn't sure of how we were supposed to be pronouncing the ch. So I was just curious.
So the lake had held military significance in the following centuries, but there's so much to it that that's not what we're here to discuss. We're here to discuss an alleged monster.
I feel like using the word alleged just is indicating you don't believe this.
Look, there's this one's quite the doozy, I gotta say. So before we get into a really fun fact about the lake, is that Lake Champlain became the sixth Great Lake for a short period of time. On March 6, 1998, President Bill Clinton signed Senate Bill 927, which has a line in it that declared Lake Champlain the sixth Great Lake. This was hidden by the senators from the area. So you think that wouldn't mean much, but there are actually repercussions to this. This gives access to funds that are to be allocated only to the Great Lakes. So after some uproar, that part of the bill was rescinded on March 24th of that year. However, it did get access. It did keep the access to the funds for universities in New York and Vermont to monitor the lake.
Oh, interesting.
It was the sixth Great Lake for some time, but no longer is. So, regarding the wildlife in the lake is home to a lot of different animals. For example, there's sturgeon, gar, trout, lamprey, pike, otters, snapping turtles, and maybe, just maybe, a lake monster named Champ.
I really liked the way you wrote that.
I tried hard on that, but all the most of the animals I put in there for a reason. Are you familiar with all of them?
I would say most of them.
You know what a gar is?
No.
You eat garlic bread? Do you?
Yes.
Well, in the name, a gar has to lick that bread before you can eat it.
Oh my god.
Just remember, when you eat that bread, that a gar licked it first.
I cannot believe that you did all of that wind up for that joke.
I told that to you a while ago. You know what a gar is, so I decided to bring it back up again. But you still don't know what a gar is?
I thought that you were being like real because I don't actually know what a gar is.
You're going to have to look it up later when we get further in because I want you to see what some of these things are.
I can identify otters.
That is really impressive.
They hold hands.
Those are sea otters, I believe, that hold hands. I don't think river otters do. These are river otters.
Please don't crush my dreams.
All right. So let's get into what the Lake Champlain Monster Champ really is. So I'm going to refer to it as Champ the rest of the show.
Sounds good.
All right. So the Lake Champlain Monster. Tales of a monster in the lake stretch back to before European settlers came to the area. The indigenous people of the area told tales of a serpent in the lake. The indigenous people described it as a giant snake or a large horned serpent. They warned the French settlers about it. They referred to it as I've seen multiple different names it's been referred to, so don't know what's right, but there's the Tatascock and the Gittaskog.
So those are like the indigenous names
for what they think it is, what the beast of the monster lake, I guess.
Oh, okay.
Because they describe a serpent and a horned serpent. So those are different things, obviously. So the first alleged sighting of Champ is a debated one. It goes back to 1609 when Samuel de Champlain documented the following. So this is, from what I found online, word for word what he documented. There is also a great abundance of fish of many varieties. Amongst other, there is one the natives called Chalfarou, I think I pronounced that right, which varies in length, but the largest of them, as these tribes have told me, are from 8 to 10 feet long. I've seen some 5 feet long, which were as big as my thigh and a head as large as my two fists, with a snout 2 feet and a half long and a double row of very sharp, dangerous teeth. Its body has a good deal the shape of the pike, but it is protected by scales of silvery gray color and so strong that a dagger could not pierce them. However, it is believed that he was actually referring to either a gar or a sturgeon. And for reference, gar are not found in Europe, so they're not native to there. And sturgeon are very often mistaken for lake monsters. Those get large.
Okay.
So the gar at least is a new type of fish for them, and it definitely looked foreign to them.
So the way that he was writing it makes it sound like he had heard that there were multiple, like, sea monsters, because he's saying this one's smaller than the ones that he's originally heard about.
Yeah, and I think he's referring to a long-nosed gar, which are in the lake.
Yeah, which would, like, make logical sense.
Yeah. So let's get into the actual first sighting that we can actually attest to being Champ.
Can I look up what this looks like?
Oh, gar?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Take a moment, look up what a gar looks like, and let me know what you think of it. Long-nosed gar is the one in this. Because there's alligator gars, and that's a whole different beast. Which picture are you looking at? Yeah, that's a long-nosed gar.
No, that's not what I thought Champ looked like. Like, I thought Champ...
Well, that's what people might have seen underwater. But
forgive me for thinking, but when I think of Champ and, like, that description, do you know the Lego dragon that's in Legoland?
Yeah, is that what you think?
That's like what, yeah, his face with, like, the long nose and the teeth is what I was, like, picturing in my head.
So now you know what a gar looks like.
What was the other one?
A lake sturgeon. Now these things can get large.
Lake sturgeon.
They have a bumpy back.
Those look so different.
Let me see. They both have flat faces.
Yeah, but one is, like, really skinny.
Yeah.
They do look like it gets massive, though.
Yeah, I think the largest lake sturgeon, I think, have been recorded, like, upwards of 15 feet long. That's a huge fish.
Yeah, that is a very large fish.
Yeah. So, you're ready. I'm going to go into the first sighting then, or are there any other fish you need to look up?
No, I looked up Champ.
Did you look up Champ?
Yeah.
Like just the word Champ, or?
No, I looked up Champ Cryptid, and it looks nothing like either of those fish.
Yeah, so we'll get into that then.
I'm suspicious.
Alright. So, the actual first sighting that we can test to being Champ is a lot clearer than the last one we talked about. So, this comes from the Plattsburgh Republican in July of 1819. The account comes from Captain Crumb. So, he was on a boat in the lake. He reported a monster. I misspelled monster apparently in my notes. It was 200 yards away. It was 187 feet long. It was black, a head resembling a seahorse or a regular horse. I've seen both descriptions. The head was flat, 3 teeth, 2 on the lower jaw, 1 on the top. Eyes are the color of peeled onions.
Okay, so this is most definitely where my brain goes when I think of Champ. This description.
But there's more just to it. First off, color of peeled onions is so oddly specific.
That is very specific.
Yeah, when I look at something like that's the color of a peeled onion right there, I must say. So it had a white star on the head and a red belt around the neck.
Wait, what?
A white star on its head.
And a red belt?
Like a red line around its neck. Like not a physical belt.
I was like, who collared this Champ?
He's someone's pet.
Yeah, it sounded like it. A star? On its head?
A white star on its head, like not like a star sticking out, but I think like a star shape. Like a white star would have.
Yeah, I'm just like trying to think of what would the evolutionary
I don't know. This thing sounds
like.
crazy. And it apparently rose 15 feet out of the water.
Okay, so this guy's saying that his sighting of Champ was like 187 feet.
Exactly 187 feet,
Yeah,
and he saw it from 200 yards away.
how did we measure that
I
from
don't
600
know.
feet away?
That is such a specific measurement.
But that is so much larger than what that first account was saying, where he was saying it was like, oh, it's somewhere between 5
Well,
and
yeah,
8
those
feet.
first accounts definitely align with like the actual length of Gar's and Sturgeon. But this, realistically, the 187-foot long creature in a lake where the depth averages at 64 feet and the deepest part is 400 feet deep. I just don't think whatever this guy saw is feasibly living in that lake.
Yeah, so okay, hold on.
You trying to do the mental math on
I'm
this?
just trying to like think that if this thing is 187 feet long, obviously, like it's not like it's standing on its very end, like sticking up out of the water. But like, even then, like 64 feet deep, how round is this thing? Like, is it only a foot?
What he's describing is like a sea serpent.
Yeah, like is it round in circumference? How wide is the?
Well, I think of
lake?
100. What?
How wide's the lake?
The at its widest point is 12 miles.
Okay.
At its and it's 107 miles long. So there's a lot of lake area for it to be in, but depth wise, I mean, it would have to be. So I'm pretty sure that 187 feet is like the horizontal length of this thing.
Yeah.
So it would have to like descend up and down, always being that same horizontal.
I guess. What's the clarity of the water? Like, did it talk about the clarity of the water?
No, I don't think the water is crystal clear.
Then I could understand how it would, like,
maybe appear longer than what it actually is.
No, like I could understand how it would be able to hide better.
Yeah.
Like if it can, because even though it's 187 feet long, if we imagine that it's always horizontal, even though the depth is only 64 feet in some areas, like that doesn't mean that this thing can't hide along the bottom.
Yeah, but 187 feet. First off, the largest animal today is the 100 to I think maximum is the 110 feet potentially. Blue whale. That animal is massive. To keep a size that big, you have to eat a lot.
That's true. Yeah, I mean, I can definitely I definitely don't believe that this thing was 187 feet long, but I think that you can make an argument for it being feasible. Like, if you negate the food.
Yeah, but it just goes at the upper limits of actual life.
Yeah, I guess you would be right about that.
So, just going forward on to the next stuff. So, after this sighting in 1819, sightings began to roll in after this one. So I'm going to go into some of the ones in the 1800s here then. So, railroad workers on the shore of Dresden, New York saw Champ in 1873. They described it as a massive fish-tailed serpent, and it was swimming towards them. The same year, a county sheriff saw a 30-foot-long water serpent in July, so 30 feet in this case. In August, a steamship apparently collided with a water monster and almost overturned it.
These are much different.
Exactly, that's one thing we're going to go over. Accounts of Champ vary heavily. So university students in Burlington, Vermont cited it seeing 15 feet of its head and neck in November of 1879 coming out of the water.
That's the same number as the first account, right?
Yeah, 15 feet out of the water.
Okay, so we at least have one measurement that is like slightly similar.
Yeah. And then various more accounts came in during the 1800s from people both on and around the shores on the lake and around the shores of it.
Okay.
So this led to P.T. Barnum, the famous showman and founder of the Barnum and Bailey Circus, also the star of the movie The Greatest Showman, played by Hugh Jackman.
I love that movie.
That's a good movie.
It's like one of the only musicals that I actually like.
It's good. So he wrote to the Whitehall Times of New York that he would give $50,000 for the hide of the Great Champlain serpent. No one was able to cash in on this reward, and I don't think it's still active, but he offered it the reward twice.
How much money would that be today?
A lot. That would be a
Because you said
lot
this
of
was
money.
50,000 in
1870s.
I have such mixed feelings about P.T. Barnum, like because
He profited a lot of
yeah, but
unfortunate
also
people.
like circuses are cool.
Did you know, if I'm not mistaken, he was a congressman at one point? Like, he
I-
got elected to the U.S. Congress, and he was fighting for the abolishment of slavery.
I did not know that.
Yeah, that is just a fun little fact about him that I learned a few years ago. That
Okay, so that makes me
yeah, like
him a
he
little
did
more.
like really great things like that, but then he also did his circus, which kind of exploited people with disabilities. So
Unethical, definitely
unethical, but at the same time fighting the good fight. So
I mean, I think. Okay. We don't have time for me to go into all my things with him, but
yeah, he's a whole different guy. He'll show up other times in the podcast when we talk about like mermaids and stuff.
Yeah, we'll have to do like maybe an episode on him or something.
Yeah, or just some of his oddities. Yeah, we could do an episode on him.
Yeah, oddities would be right up our alley.
Yeah.
So
let's roll into the 1900s and look into what people were seeing then. Now, these sightings are the beginning of the sightings that start to align with the idea that this isn't a sea or water serpent, depending on who you ask, because technically we're not in the sea, but it's just they're commonly called sea serpent. That's why some people called it a water serpent.
I don't like that.
Water serpent?
Yeah, like I feel like
a sea serpent sounds better because we've been using that term for a lot longer.
Yeah, like lake serpent.
Okay, that also works.
Uh-huh.
But some of the sightings have started to align with the idea of a plesiosaur.
I think I know about this.
Yeah, I'll get into more about the detail of plesiosaurs later in this. So, in 1915, according to the New York Times, people saw Champ stranded in the shadows of Bulwaga Bay. It was 40 feet long, and that is about all the description I could find about it. Stranded in the shallow waters, and eventually it struggled enough in the shallows that it freed itself and swam towards the Vermont side of the lake and sank down in the water like submarine style, like descended into the water slowly.
Is that even like logically feasible for an animal that intakes air?
I have no idea how animals sink down. I'm pretty sure they typically dive down.
Well, I think like the human body, like doesn't our feet go first? Like there's no way we can just float horizontal to the bottom.
Well, I mean, this thing is not aligned first.
No.
I don't know. I am not a biologist of aquatic animals.
Do you think that the like monsters get annoyed when we refer to every single one of them as Champ, but they're actually a family of many?
I don't know. You have to go ask Champer the Champies yourself.
We'll have to make a family names for them.
Okay. So, moving on to 1939, Mr. and Mrs. Langlos, I think that's how you say it, claimed to have seen Champ while fishing on their motorboat. Champ began to approach them, and they veered away and avoided hitting it, and then fled to the shore.
Is this the first time that
he approached somebody?
Yeah.
I don't know, because there's a lot in the 1800s that I just couldn't find or didn't want to look into all of them.
He just seems really isolated, like he wouldn't actively seek out human.
Yeah, well, that'll actually be brought up in a few more sightings. So, in 1943, Charles Weston saw Champ through binoculars, just going around the water some, and that was about it for that sighting. In 1945, a Vermont woman aboard the SS Ticonderoga claimed that she and others on the boat were watching a bridge dedication when they saw Champ raise its head from the water nearby. Now we're going to jump 25 years further to the 1970s. So in the 1970s, didn't say what year, 15-year-old Tommy Heinrich was fly fishing on a boat when he saw a snake-like form that was wriggling in the water. It was between 25 and 45 feet long. It was humped, had a horse-like head, a horn, rust-colored skin, and it looked at him and then went under the water. He
Okay, so
then fled to the shore shortly after because he got scared.
okay, so this has a similar description to something from earlier, but they're saying it's rust colored.
Yeah.
The one earlier said it was silver scales.
No, that's whenever that was Samuel de Champlain.
Oh, my bad.
So Captain Crumb said it was black,
Okay.
and in this case, it was horned. It's like a horn on the head.
Wonder if that would be like female versus male, kind of like in our world, right?
No idea. Maybe. And as if we're going to go on like the plesiosaur route, there's I think only one plesiosaur ever that had any type of horn on its head, and it was like a small keratinous ridge on the head. Nothing like a big horn. I believe that one's called Unmunosaurus.
Oh, that sounds really cute.
I think they look cool. But the next one is in 1972. Fred Shanafelt and Morris Lucia, two experienced scuba divers, were scuba diving from a small boat in the lake. Morris saw the beast first when he saw the head of it. It was rounded, looked like a horse's head, and a mushroom gray color is the color they describe the head. So not just gray, mushroom gray, which I don't know what that is. It rose about 8 feet out of the water, and the neck was a dark brown or black color. They swam to the beach to get away from it. Now, Champ did follow them, but seemed to look at them more with curiosity. They estimated it somewhere, I believe it was between 40 and 55 feet long. I actually forgot to write that down, but from what I read in the book, it was 40 to 55 feet they estimated the length of it.
How are we
making estimates on length like that?
Yeah, like is there something in the water that they're like?
No idea. So, now that's the final sighting for the 1900s I want to go over before we get into the most famous of Champ sightings. Now, many of you might have heard of it or seen the picture. This one occurred in July 5th, 1977. So, on July 5th, 1977, and for some reason, so many things we talk about happen in July. Roswell happened in July. A bunch of these sightings happen in July or around summertime. I guess that's just the season to be. I don't know.
Well, I guess
it's the season.
Well, I mean, it would make sense for this, in my opinion, just because it's warmer.
Yeah. Also, July 5th is like the same time Roswell happened 30 years. 30 years to this date that Roswell went down. No connection whatsoever from what I can find.
Aren't those opposite sides of the country?
Yeah.
Nice.
So, Sandra Manzi was picnicking with her family on the Vermont side of Lake Champlain near St. Albans. While out there, she saw what she thought at first was a large fish. But then she saw a grayish-brown head on a snake-like neck come out of the water. It seemed to be looking around, is what she described. She then grabbed her Kodak Instamatic to take a picture of the creature. This legendary picture would be known as the Manzi photograph, which you can find on our Instagram for the post for this episode. So, Sage, would you mind taking a quick look at it on your phone or computer so you know what I'm looking at? This is the picture everyone thinks about for Champ.
Is that? Yeah, that's the one that I was looking at.
Yep, that's the Manzi photograph. What do you think of it?
He looks like way smaller.
Well, this is from far away.
I'm impressed with the quality from if this was that far away in the 70s.
So, there's a lot of analysis on this I'd like to go over then, because this is supposed to be the most compelling piece of evidence. Sorry about that playing there. That was my ring accidentally hitting the desk. So, ready for me to go into it? So, however, she didn't share the photo initially. She was fearful of the jokes and ridicule that showing this off may have resulted in. Not everyone is necessarily receptive to proof of a lake monster and might instead think you're crazy.
How do you think, like, if you were her friend and she comes back and shows you this picture that she took when she was out at the lake, like, how do you think, genuinely, how do you think you would respond?
Look, I'm more of a person into this stuff, so I would think, wow, that's neat. That might be proof. I don't know, other people in that time, I'm like, what? Are you crazy? You're one of those freaks that believes in this stuff?
Yeah, I don't know how.
Belief in this stuff was not necessarily, I think, as widely accepted back then.
I definitely think that if I felt the way that I do now, if I was back then, I would believe her, but I don't know that I would ever go back in the water.
Also, this is before History Channel indoctrinated us with all the weird stuff they put on out there.
Very true. This was the 70s.
Yeah. So, through a chain of events, Manzi was introduced to Joseph Zarzinski. So Zarzinski, a junior high social science teacher, had made finding Champ his goal in the early 1970s. He organized the Lake Champlain Phenomena Investigation. So he collected data and sightings on Champ to compile to prove its existence. He thinks he compiled enough to prove it, but that's up for debate. It's hard to find this stuff still because it's on a bunch of like defunct websites. All right, so after he interviewed Manzi and looking over the photograph, he consulted with other cryptozoologists and examined the photo and performed some computer tests on it. This photo got tested by a lot of people. Different places called out different people who looked at it and whatnot. If you want a really good analysis of it, that I actually found very late in my research on Twitter, or I guess X, Darren Naish, a paleontologist and he does dabble in cryptozoology, did a really good thread on this back in 2020 about the photograph and the analysis on it. I did read through that. Man, was that a read. And some other places I read, two cryptozoologists looked into it, Roy Mackle and J. Richard Greenwell, two bigger cryptozoologists back in the day. They came to the conclusion that it had to be an unknown animal in the photo. Greenwell believed it to be plesiosaur, which is an extinct marine reptile that died out with the dinosaurs, and Mackle believed it was a primitive whale. They called it back then a zeuglodon, but that term's not really used anymore. That's been replaced with the term basilosaurid. So basilosaurids were a type of extinct whale, a bit more primitive. They had long, slender bodies, getting upwards. They got up to those upper ranges of like 70 to 90 feet long, potentially at max. But they were slender, more slender in their body, and they didn't have like baleen bristles. They had full-on teeth and were predators.
Is that where we get the name, like, basilisk from?
No, Basilosaurus got its name from the basilisk, I believe.
Oh, so the other way around.
Yeah, it's also one of the only mammals to have the saurus name in it, because when they first found it, they thought it was a lizard and not a whale.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense to me if it's the predator that they think it is.
Yeah, a lot of what basilosaurs after it have the word cetus in it, which is whale. But before that, Basilosaurus set the tone for a lizard name in it. So
Wow.
the picture was then examined by other multiple experts, including one from Kodak. And this happened in the documentary series Supernatural in the 1990s. The thing in the photograph is between 20 to 70 feet long per multiple expert analysis. And the same conclusion kept coming, was that the picture was not a fake. It was not a montage or superimposition, but the question of what was actually in the picture. So a lot of people didn't think it was a hoax because, the complexity to hoax that, which there's some debate on if it really would have been complex or not, but it keeps on coming to something was photographed.
I also don't know why, like,
Why people hoax?
Yeah, like, why people would make a hoax out of that anyway. But I think it's fascinating that, like, Kodak, that was the camera, right? Like,
Yeah.
that was the...
A Kodak expert did analyze the picture and
said that
confirmed that there was no montage or superimposition on it.
And these are Polaroids, right?
I don't know.
Or was this film?
Kodak and Cinematic, I think that's film because that type of stuff has negatives, right? I don't think Polaroids have negatives.
Yeah.
So
okay,
this is where the debate on the photograph comes: whether it's a piece of wood or an actual animal.
I think we just aged ourselves.
I think we did. So first, there's some issues with Mancy's story. For starter, she could not produce a negative of the photo, which would greatly help the analysis. And the photo one given, it was not stored well. There's some cracks on the photo. The edges are not well kept, like you see some yellowing in it. So that's why the photo doesn't look the best quality, as she kept it for a few years before showing it to people. Now that they became public in like the 80s, so there were some years. And apparently during this time, I believe it was one coworker said that she'd been showing it to people and wondering how she could like be popular, like, publicize it. But that's what one person said.
You'd think that if you had like this insane photo of something that people have never gotten on camera before, that you would like take better care of it.
Yep, that's what you think. She could also not identify where along the lake she took the picture and cited Champ.
What? No way.
So there's a varying thing. At one point, she claimed it was so people wouldn't go there and take things into their own matters by taking a gun and trying to shoot at something, which I think that's a very valid concern.
Yeah, unfortunately, that is the world we live in.
And other times, she just wouldn't identify or couldn't. I believe there was one time they took her out there to identify the location, and she actually never did. They took her out for a weekend there with her family and said she enjoyed herself.
Free vacation.
But, yeah. So, also, granted, Lake Champlain is huge.
That's true.
So they're 500, I think, 37 miles of shoreline.
Yeah, that's what I was going to
ask. Over time, some people would believe they figure out where it is and where the picture was taken. It does look like it was fairly like out into the water that the either Champ or piece of wood was.
A piece of wood?
So yeah, so some photo analysis later on indicates that there is a subtle lumpiness that would not be becoming of a living animal like what people were looking at. And that's more like expert analysis. But would rather fit a piece of driftwood. And there are pieces of driftwood, and people have produced like just out there pieces of wood that would fit the description of what you're looking at there. I assume you're looking at it on your phone now, right?
Yeah.
And the wood idea is probable.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking again at it, and with like the way it does look like that it could be a piece of wood. It's just curved, which I think
does happen.
Yeah.
Like somebody literally got a piece of wood that looks almost exactly like it. Not at Lake Champlain, I believe, but somewhere else. But it's like there are pieces that look exactly like this.
And the way that the photo is too, it looks almost like Champ is turned back on himself.
Yeah.
Like he kind of goes straight and then loops to the left and then up over his own back. If this was wood, it would make sense that it was one longer piece of wood, like with
like
that
a
top
branch
piece.
that goes. Yeah, I think it's just him. If it is an animal, it's like, I don't know how to describe it. Just sit up there with the head up and just looking to the right by the looks of it. But
I don't know. It looks like his head is curved around. Yeah. Kind of like, I don't know, how like Marley kind of does. Yeah, where she like curls her head into her side.
True.
So I don't know, but I could definitely see how this could be wood.
Yeah, but no indication of a hoax. And it leads to two things: either an unknown animal photographed or a piece of wood was misidentified.
Oh, poor wood.
I don't know what I go towards, but I think one of the funny suggestions is that's not the head of an animal, but that's the flipper of a large whale underwater. Like there's a diagram somebody's done. Yeah, see, that's I see you found the wood picture, but there's one where it is a whale, a full whale flipper.
Whale flipper.
I don't know if you can hear me scrolling, but I'm looking for the picture where somebody actually made a diagram of it. Yeah, Darren Naish drew a picture of what some people have recommended. I think this is the craziest of all. What do you think of this one?
I mean, I don't know any whales that have a really, really skinny, like, rounded flipper.
I also don't think the lake port a whale that big in that picture.
That's true. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, so another one later in the thread is somebody thought because of the bony, well, not but sorry, there's little like bumps on the back and some feature on the head. It might be a giant salamander. Don't
What?
agree with that one.
Okay.
Haven't seen that theory anywhere else. So that's what I have on this picture. So then let's roll into the 2000s. Let me.
Ooh, our era.
Yeah. There are a few more notable sightings before we get into what Champ could be and discussion on what we believe it is. So in 2003, a program for the Discovery Channel recorded sounds in the lake that were similar to sounds that whales and dolphins make underwater. A study found that they seem to be echolocation. So that's what whales and dolphins. However, there are no known whales or dolphins in Lake Champlain currently, but as we said earlier, there were in the past in that area when it was a sea.
Yeah, but if they're hearing the echolocation now, that means it's happening now. So,
Potentially, yeah.
is there any animal large enough that we know is in the lake that would use
No,
echolocation?
because they said it was similar to that of, I believe, a beluga or an orca.
So, is there
And
anything in the world that mimics that?
besides the animals themselves, but it wasn't an exact match, so it would have been something unknown.
Yeah, like was it some sort of tapping? Was it a
Nope.
boat?
I guess, because I'm no expert, but I guess it matched what you'd expect from echolocation for those animals.
Okay.
So, in 2005, fisherman Dick Affolter and his stepson Pete Badette, they took a video of something in the water that apparently was champ and looked like a plesiosaur. It's called the Badette footage. However, the footage isn't publicly available. That's what I could find, and that does not help the claim at all.
Yeah, to me that is suspicious.
So some news outlets saw it, and some said they thought it looked credible. But two retired FBI forensic image analysts looked at it and determined that it was whatever it was not altered.
Okay, so they.
So, but they also had to note that also they saw no animal in the video that they watched. Like, so
Okay.
some people were like, the FBI authenticated this, and then the guy's like, yeah, it's an authentic video, but I saw no animal in that video, so I don't know what you're looking at.
I was gonna say, so like, what were this dad and son thinking they
I
saw?
don't know. I've never seen the footage. I wish I could have.
See, that is suspicious. That the
That's
FBI
suspicious.
authenticated. The FBI authenticated it.
Retired FBI.
Okay, retired FBI authenticated it. They're image analysts. They say there's nothing in this video, but then no one is allowed access to this video to determine whether or not.
I don't like it.
Yeah, I'm not liking it either.
So then the next thing we're going to is 2016.
Wow.
When there were mysterious alligator tracks found along the shore of the lake.
Okay, so is this a plesiosaur or
However,
an alligator?
I believe it was a researcher. Yeah, it was a researcher said they just looked like large snapping turtle track.
Okay, so that's where the snapping turtle from earlier came into play. Okay. Okay.
And so now we're getting more recent, the sighting.
Yeah, 2016 is not that long ago.
The next two. The first one is in July of 2023.
Oh my gosh, just last year?
Yeah, they get more recent. Scott Thurber captured a plesiosaur-shaped image on his sonar in the lake. Now, this could also just be fish in that shape, with like a school of fish, a similar shape.
Okay.
I looked at it. It could easily just be a school of fish, but who knows? And then the next one, so this one comes from just 2 months ago, in the beginning of August.
Okay.
Now, I believe the footage for it is from August 22nd, but the findings came recently. So first, for starters, because this was originally going to be brought up at the end, but I'll bring it up now. There is a Champ movie in the works, and well, actually, no, it's not really in the works anymore. I believe it just released for very select viewing over the past few weeks.
Okay, hold on. So, do we know what it's called?
Yes, it's called Lucy and the Lake Monster, which is based off a book of the same name. It's about a orphan girl and her grandfather going out to look for Champ.
Oh my god. You said Lucy?
Lucy and the Lake Monster.
Guess how I spelled Lucy?
How?
Loose. I-E. Loosie. I didn't hear.
What?
I don't know what I was
Oh
doing.
my goodness.
Lucy and the what?
And the Lake Monster.
Lake Monster.
Yeah. So it's like, I think it's like more of an indie film, so I don't know how it goes, but it's based off, I think, a kid's book or like a middle grade book.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's having showings right now as actually as we speak. But when they're going through post production, this past August, there was drone footage being reviewed, and in one of the videos, something can be seen under the water, and you can't really tell what it is. So this is the still I found. I believe it is on YouTube now.
Okay,
So,
what do I? Because I can't see that. What do I look up?
Just look up Lucy and the Lake Monster Champ sighting,
Lucy and the Lake.
and you'll see one that's looking from above, and it has it's like a rowboat in the water, and then the lower right you can see that there's something. If I looked at it, something large under the water with like a brownish color.
Okay.
You see it?
Yeah. I mean, I saw the one photo. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's a shot from the video, but they found that in post production 2 months ago.
So, did anyone have any kind of idea of like?
Some people think it's Champ, but this is very early, so not as many people have given their opinion or analysis on it. I did not find too much.
I mean, it's huge.
Yeah.
If that's the size of a boat near it.
So that one's still up for debate because it's very recent. It's
Okay.
like very, very recent. So it could be an animal, but I'm no expert in reviewing this stuff, so I'm going to wait till I see more expert analysis. I only came across this today because it's just that recent. So I didn't get much chance to really dig into this one. It's not like the Manzi photograph where there's decades of analysis on it.
Yeah.
This is recent. So that's what I have for Champ sighting. So I want to now go into what could Champ be. So there's a few theories out there, so I'll go off one by one, okay?
Okay, I'm excited to hear this.
So the first one is the most popular, that it is a still living plesiosaur. So here's your science lesson, y'all. Paleontology lesson, because I want to let you guys know what a plesiosaur is. So a plesiosaur is a type of marine reptile from the Mesozoic. It is not a dinosaur. It is a type of reptile. They started appearing closer to the end of the Triassic 203 million years ago, and went extinct with the non-avian dinosaurs 66 million years ago during the Cretaceous extinction event. So plesiosaurs lived their whole lives in the water, like whales and dolphins do today, and they gave birth to live young. They live primarily in salt water, but evidence has been found that some could tolerate fresh and brackish waters. But for this theory to work, a plesiosaur would have to make it past the Cretaceous extinction. We still have found no evidence of any of them making past 66 million years ago. And one thing that doesn't help this theory is plesiosaurs, like other reptiles, they replace their teeth constantly throughout their lives. So theoretically, if there are still some around today, we should have found teeth somewhere, whether it be from the ocean or from the or on the shores of a lake. Now it's harder to find it if maybe it's from the ocean, if there's some still in like deep waters or something. But in a lake, you maybe would see teeth or something by now. But we still have not found anything. I mean, like shark teeth are a dime a dozen in places, but that's my idea on it. But that's the first theory.
Yeah, we just had a conversation, just last week after Hurricane Helene, because there was some video of someone saying that they had found, like, megalodon teeth.
Yeah.
And it was obviously, like, they were super fake.
Yep.
But, Frank, actually, we were, like, just talking about this idea that there would be a lot of teeth. Like, if they were still alive, like, if the megalodon was alive today.
There would be obvious evidence, but we can go into that in maybe a different episode in the
Well,
future.
no, I'm just
Yeah.
relating that to this, that, like, that's, like, clearly finding the teeth is evidence for having, like, an animal like
Yep.
this continue to be alive today.
Yeah, there's certain animals that leave obvious traces of their existence.
Yeah.
Like,
okay.
shark teeth are a dime a dozen because of that. And when paleontologists find fossils, teeth are very abundant versus everything else.
Makes sense.
So let's go into the next theory, is that champ is a type of whale. So this might seem far-fetched, but it does have some decent supporting evidence.
Yeah, if you saw my face when you said that, I would say that sounds far-fetched.
So, have you heard of the Charlotte whale at all?
No.
So, the Charlotte whale is a skeleton of a beluga whale found in Charlotte, Vermont, which is along Lake Champlain. It is estimated between 11,000 and 11,500 years old. Very young in the grand scheme of things. That's fairly recent geologically.
Mm-hmm.
And so, that shows that a whale was living where Lake Champlain is right now. Just 10,000, a little over 10,000 years.
Okay.
So, the idea is, what if, the ocean receded and became a lake, what if a small population of whales got trapped there?
Okay.
And that could be the echolocation they heard.
But wasn't one of the other reasons that we weren't sure that this existed was because of the food source that it would need?
Yes.
Is there enough food in this lake
There
to
is
maintain?
a lot of fish there. Well, if we're talking a 187-foot animal, no way there's enough food to sustain it. But maybe small, like, dwarf whales? Yeah, I can see that.
Okay. I mean, if you can see it, then I would say that there's more credence to it than I think there is.
And this is, as we mentioned earlier, connected by originally a river that would lead to a seaway. So it's not like there isn't a steady stream of fish coming in. It's not like you're locked in with limited amount if you overeat. I mean, you can overeat, but it does have a steady stream.
So if we think that it could be a pod of these dwarf whales or whatever, like, why is there not more concrete evidence that this exists?
Because it just might not exist.
Okay, I'm just thinking, if we think this is a theory.
I mean, some animals, it's very hard to ever see them in life.
And like whales don't drop teeth, like?
No, whales do not drop teeth. They are mammals like us, so they have a set amount of teeth they have in the body. Okay. The only mammal that constantly replaces teeth is the manatee. But that is one thing that I find interesting that I don't think enough people talk about is, if you're talking about extinct reptiles or dinosaurs still being around, tooth replacement is a big thing. Animals go through teeth. Those type of animals go through teeth a lot. There's even a type of sauropod along that dinosaur. This sauropod replaces 500 teeth per day.
Oh my god.
That is what paleontologists have determined. I can't tell if that's still true or not, but it replaced a lot of teeth a day. So, teeth is a big thing.
Yeah, sounds like it.
Yeah, it's like if you go digging out where like T-Rex and Triceratops were, Triceratops teeth are very abundant.
Okay.
So, I personally like the whale theory, especially with the echolocation being detected in 2003. However, there's no concrete proof of the whale. So, I'm going to roll into the next theory. Well, more like slither into it. So, is that champ is a sea, or in this case, a water or lake serpent? Which, none in the sense that we're talking about have ever been found. We've never discovered a sea serpent that fits the description that we've been looking for so long. So besides early descriptions, I do not have anything else to support this
one. Okay.
But that is one of the theories. And then I have 3 more to go into. So the next 2 mostly stem from the 2016 sighting of the alligator lake track. So the first theory is that it could be a member of the Crocodilidae family, like family that includes crocodiles and alligators. However, this would not be a crocodile or alligator and would instead be an offshoot of the family. This is proposed by cryptozoologists Katie Elizabeth and Dennis Hall, and they think that both Champ and many other lake monsters could be this, an offshoot of the Crocodilidae family. It definitely wouldn't be an actual crocodile or an alligator because the climate gets very cold in parts of the lake and it will freeze. So we don't know of any currently living crocodiles that can survive in a climate like this.
Okay.
But that is one theory put out by two cryptozoologists. I don't think that one has much support besides those two claiming it.
Yeah, I don't know that that's something that I could get behind.
Yeah, especially if you try and align it with the Manzi photograph, then that Manzi photograph would, in the end, definitely be a piece of wood in this case because there's no way a crocodilian is doing something like that. So the next theory is Champ could be a giant turtle. This could explain the large body and possibly long neck, as turtles can extend their neck fairly far out, but not to the 8 to 15-foot length. This theory also gained some popularity whenever it was discovered that sea turtles could go further inland and farther up north than what we had expected, but I don't think anything like Lake Champlain.
Okay.
The specific turtle in question would most likely be a giant snapping turtle. This turtle would have to be gigantic. Now, we've never discovered any like this, but nonetheless, this is a theory of what Champ could be, and there are other cryptids out there that could be giant snapping turtles. But researcher Scott Mardis suggested that those tracks in 2016 could be from just a large snapping turtle, but doesn't point to a gigantic one, just a regular one that's at the larger limits of their size.
Okay, that doesn't make sense for the sightings of how long people said that Champ was.
Exactly. So, see, not all of these align with one another. So, the last theory of what realistically, from a skeptic's viewpoint, people could be seeing, some of the animals could be, some of the sightings could just be misidentified animals. We've gone over the turtle one, but for others, let me go into some reasons. So, the long-nosed gar can be large, up to 5.5 feet long, and do look odd at first. People who haven't seen a long-nosed gar and see it underwater might think it's some type of monster if they see it barely under the water surface. And that's most likely what we're looking at for the description from 1609 by the French settlers.
Okay.
The next is the sturgeon. Lake sturgeon get large, and they are suggested often for misidentifications for many lake monsters due to their bumpy appearance and large sizes, usually getting up to 7 feet long, but in other areas, some have been recorded over 10 feet long. If you see this thing briefly come up, like the back of it pressed over the water and then go back down, you might think that that's the lake monster because that thing is huge.
Yeah, and I guess if it's coming up and out of the water and stuff, like that could lead you to believe that it's longer underneath the water than what is.
Yeah, and that's where some of the humps come from because a lot of things with sea monsters is humps. Or like sea serpents and stuff is like you see their humps or like part of them coming out of the water and then going back in. Which that also then leads into the other one. It could be possibly otters. Because if you see how fish swim, and crocodiles and alligators and other lizards, so they swing their tail and bodies side to side. But mammals go up and down. So otters, if you see a family of otters along, maybe if they're in a line, you might see multiple humps of a sea serpent.
Do we know if otters would swim in a line like that?
They could. I mean, I don't know how they swim, their behaviors, but there's a chance they could.
Okay.
Possibility. And that could also be what people would think they're seeing is otters are not animals you see like out and everywhere in a lake, so they're shyer animals, so that could be what people are seeing.
Yeah.
So, and then, now, for the crocodilian idea, I have not seen anybody describe it like an alligator or crocodile, but just in case, for anything afterwards, if somebody sees just the top of the animal on the water, people do get crocodiles and alligators as pets. And way too often, people should not be keeping these animals as pets. They get large, they get dangerous, and people don't know what to do. They release them in the wild. For example, Lake Erie had an alligator released in recent years into the water. There have been rivers and streams in New York that have had alligators released into them, and these animals just cannot survive in these environments then because some alligators can survive some level of freezing. Crocodile's not built for it, but the alligators can't do these prolonged winters that they get up. So, people could be seeing illegally released animals, or they could not. But there's no reports of any alligators being illegally released there, but it is a possibility nonetheless.
Yeah, I mean, I think about Wally, like the famous alligator that was from like central Pennsylvania, and how he lived up here as a pet.
Yep.
And then was stolen and released.
Yep, but there are people who keep it. Not all alligators are as timid as Wally that are kept, and people, when it becomes a problem, will just release it wherever they are, where it's convenient, which is not a good idea.
Yeah, and I think people look at stories like Wally, like this famous, this very cute, like famous alligator that was taken to baseball games and like all kinds of places and stuff, and it's like that's not reality for that kind of animal.
That's
like
very
that is
rare.
Yeah, that's a once in a couple million like type of temperament for an animal like that.
So don't keep an alligator as a pet. That's what I'm saying.
Especially PSA.
There's one in somebody who had one in New York City that got confiscated because they just didn't have the space for an alligator. It became deformed, like a hunchback.
Aww.
Yeah. So don't keep alligators and crocodiles as a pet. So those are the possible animals that could be. And one final thing. A scientific name has been proposed for a champ. That's Champtanstropheus americanus.
Is there something that stands for?
I do not know.
I mean, obviously, Americanus would indicate it's from.
Stropheus, I think probably something with long neck because Anastropheus is a prehistoric. Anastropheus is a prehistoric reptile that had a long neck, like the neck was longer than the body, and it was able to walk on land. So I'm assuming Canistropheus means something with a long neck, but Canistropheus americanus was proposed for whatever's in the lake. I don't know if it will ever catch on in the scientific community, but that has been put out there.
No, Champy is such a better name than Champ Pony or whatever.
That's what I have on Champ. So Sage, let's get into what we think Champ could be. What are your thoughts on this?
I mean, I was like going back to this theory of like the whale pod. Like I'm really caught on why that like if that was a credible theory, why more isn't being done to determine if a pod like that exists. Like if because you said the sonar that they captured was from 2003.
The sound recording, yes.
Like we have like such advanced like an innovative technology today that I feel like there's no reason that no one is going out there and not trying to locate this pod.
I think I have a reason.
What?
How are you going to justify the cost of that? That's probably not cheap.
I don't know. There's got to be like some billionaire somewhere that cares enough to want to determine if Champ exists. But even then, I just think that there would be more evidence of a pod like that. I just think there would be more evidence of a pod like that.
Mm-hmm. And I'm thinking that potentially, I think there might be a lot of cryptids where this is the case. I think there is evidence, or at least support, that there might have been whales that got stuck in there and might have lived for some time. And there's a chance that the ones where, if what we're seeing right now is one of them, we're seeing the last of them before they go extinct.
This might sound stupid, but you said that there's like a channel that connects the sea to this lake. Is there
no idea how deep it is in case you're going to ask?
Well, that is what I was going to ask. Like, if at any point it was deep enough that animals could have, like a whale could have swam up it.
Probably during the time the sea was receding, yeah, there probably was a window where whales could easily still come back in here.
Like, I wonder if that's what brought them.
there was at some point where it got cut off. So I think the whale theory, I like that one the most, honestly. Plesiosaur just does not seem plausible. I mean, whale does also not seem the most plausible, but at least has that that echolocation back to it, so it could be. But
I don't know. I think that echolocation, I think that's got to be something else. There's got to be something either man-made that was making a similar noise, or there is another animal or something that was near or in the water that was making a noise like that. I don't like I cannot subscribe to the whale theory and the plesiosaur theory, especially the plesiosaur theory, just from the knowledge I've gained just from like knowing you and like listening
Yep.
to you talk about that kind of stuff. I just can't get behind that.
Yeah, in case anyone's wondering, I'm a big paleontology fan, so I will use paleontology facts and logic.
Yeah, that's how it's so impressive that he knew what that part of Champ's like scientific genus name was.
Yeah.
What that meant.
Yeah, and I forgot the other thing about it is you look in that picture, plesiosaur necks. Currently, some people think that they were very rigid, but from as Darren Naish puts it, and he's a top paleontologist out there, they were more flexible than what they're sometimes depicted as, but they're not that flexible.
To twist around like in that one picture.
However, granted, if it would be a plesiosaur, there's been 66 million years of evolution for it to potentially evolve that way. So that's where things get a bit gray area on how would a plesiosaur evolve 66 million years after the last fossil we found.
Yeah, that's true.
But I'm going to go with the fact that I don't think plesiosaur is plausible. I think the whale is kind of plausible. I don't think sea serpent is plausible, but I think the whale is the best chance. And if it is the case, it's probably the last ones in a declining population, and we just gotta see.
Yeah, I guess if I had to pick one of the theories of it being like an actual animal, I would say the whale pod would make the most sense if it had more of a serpent-like body. Like, I don't know if a dwarf whale would have more of a serpent-like body like that, but if I really had to pick a theory, like, I don't know, I'm kind of convinced by this driftwood thing. Like, looking at, like, I had looked at a diagram of how a piece of driftwood could have been like that, and it's like, I've definitely seen wood like that in the ocean or the bay that has looked very similar.
Yep. So, that, they did, skeptics do a very good job on this one, I think.
I really wanted to believe, but I'm just not sure I can.
Yeah, so is that your final thoughts on it?
Yeah, I think that's my final thoughts. I'm driftwood. I'm club driftwood.
I am either driftwood or whale, leaning more towards driftwood, but I do want to leave some possibility for whale. Okay. So, I do want to go into then some of Champ's cultural impact.
Okay.
So this is interesting because, man, Champ has really made a mark on the area. In Burlington, Vermont, they have a monument to Champ. It's kind of just a gravestone with a cartoony serpent on it, but it also has the scientific name for Champ on it. Different than the earlier one, it's Balua aquatica champlainiensis.
Why would it be different than the
I
other
don't know.
one?
Probably so they could stick out on their monument.
Okay.
But it is a very cartoony thing. You can look up, if you want to look up the Burlington, Vermont Champ monument.
Yeah.
Real quick. Champ on it, he's kind of cute. But it just straight up looks like a gravestone. Like, rest in peace, my homie Champ. Did you find it?
Yeah.
Does it look like a gravestone, though?
Yeah.
What do you think of the cartoony look of it?
It just says dedicated. The eyes like half off.
Let me see. Dedicated. I did not see that when I looked at it.
Balua aquatica champlainiensis.
Yep.
And those people in Vermont who have sighted Champ and are in search of Champ. That's from the 80s, too.
Yeah.
That is like the drawing of him on there, though, is like what comes to mind for me. That or that Lego monster from Legoland.
And
I stand by it.
Okay. But in a lot of these towns around there are Champ statues out, like, abundant in some of these towns.
I love when towns take something like this, and even though like there's no plausible reason that something like this should exist, they just make it their whole town
Exactly. Well,
personality.
I have more to say because Champ has quite the cultural impact. That Burlington's minor league baseball team is also named for the monster, the Vermont Lake Monsters, and their mascot is Champ.
No.
So yeah, he's a green lake monster who wears a baseball jersey.
That is so cute.
And then there's Echo, which is a science and nature museum along Lake Champlain that has a Champ exhibit in it. Plenty of apparently Champ stuff in the gift shop, according to J.W. Ocker.
What would be in the Champ exhibit if they?
It's just an exhibit about Champ.
Okay.
And like I guess the history of it and this is a science and nature museum, so there's a lot to talk about, like what we did on this. And so then going forward, we got the Fort Henry in New York has Champ on their welcome sign. Champ's also on the sign of the Chamber of Commerce, and on that sign, the entire town is on Champ's back. And they celebrate Champ Day every year.
Oh, that's so cool.
And they also have a board that lists every sighting through 1989 of Champ.
Wow. How many is that?
I did not look at the board. There's a lot.
Yeah, I'm sure.
So then, Plattsburgh, New York, also has a historical sign commemorating Champy.
That's my favorite way.
So that one has Champy. That was funded by I believe it was Loren Legend Society in that town. And as stated earlier, there's a movie coming out based on the book Lucy and the Lake Monster. Last month's Cryptid Crate's Junior Crate was Champ themed. So in case you're wondering what that is, Cryptid Crate is a subscription crate centered around cryptids, and it came with like a little Champ plushie and some other Champ merch. Not sponsored in any way, but hey, Cryptid Crate, if you hear this, we'll take a sponsorship.
I also would like to say too that despite the fact that it says that it's Cryptid Crate Junior, I still feel like an adult could easily get this. And
yeah,
think
except for the kids' shirt part of it.
You
Besides
can-
that,
I'm sure you could find a kid in your life to give that shirt to.
all right, you hear that, folks? Find a kid in your life to get your Cryptid Crate shirt to. So, and also the first episode of History Channel's Monster Quest was on Champ, which aired in October of 2007. And there might be many like me, that was my first exposure to Champ. That's where I got it. Monster Quest for people from the 2007s to 2010. Probably watched it just like me, and that might have gotten you on Cryptid, because that was one of those defining moments that got me into it. In episode 1, Champ.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's everything I have today about our lovely buddy Champ.
Yeah, that was great. Oh, thanks for all the information.
Yeah, no, I thought this was a really good one to go over. I think that was good for our first cryptid, and we'll hopefully have more cryptids for you guys. And as we go on, I'm hoping to get some more pure cryptids in there.
Yeah, very good start to our October spooky month.
Yeah, come back next week when we get spookier.
Yep, as we go on this month, our plan is to do some spookier episodes to fit the theme of Spooktober.
Yeah, more like true crime, ghost hauntings, that type of stuff. Maybe not as many for the next 3 episodes. You might not see cryptids or aliens, but you'll probably see some true crime and hauntings.
Yep.
So remember
to look for
the unknown,
the unsolved,
and the unseen.
Thanks for listening.
Bye.